planets express themselves in each house? Coming up. What is up, alienARMy? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore, and on this channel we discuss everything out of this world. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about how planets behave in each house of the natal chart. For short purposes, I'm just going to be calling the celestial bodies planets because the sun and the moon are luminaries. They are not really planets, but you know, wanted to throw that disclaimer out there because I'm just going to group them all together and say planets. So let's just jump right in. How do planets express themselves in house number one? House number one. Look at me. Planets that are going to be in the first house are going to express themselves exuberantly. They are going to be quite noticeable, at least to the individual. The first house planets are going to want to show off. They're going to want to showcase themselves, and they are going to display themselves abundantly in the natal chart. This is a cardinal house, and cardinal houses 1, 4, 7, and 10 are pushing energy forward. So especially with the house of self, any planets that are posited in the first house of one's natal chart, they are going to want to like sort of pop their collar. They're going to want to come through. They're going to want you to look at them. They're going to want to be on center stage for everyone to see. They are going to be quite noticeable, especially to the native. The native might identify very heavily with planets that are in their first house. House number two. Hey, that's mine. Any planet that is in the second house of one's natal chart is going to express themselves in a way where they are trying to take possession of the things regarding that house. So second house, you are going to want to look at the sign that is on your second house cusp, and you're going to want to see what type of planet is going on in there to see what the native is going to be possessive over in their lifetime. This is something that is most likely going to be physically tangible. If this is a spiritual planet that is placed there, someone is likely to hold very dear to them and possess over their spiritual or psychic gifts or things that cannot be seen. Planets in the second house are also going to express themselves in a begrudging way. So this any planets that are placed there are likely to be a stubborn placement where the energy of the planet, no matter what energy is being expressed, the energy is going to be driven and forceful and unyielding to outside influence. Planets in the third house. Hey, guess what? Planets in the third house are going to have a communicative vibe to them, as this house is naturally governed by the planet Mercury and short-term communication. Planets in the third house are likely to express themselves very astutely with their peers. Now, this is going to be someone's conversation style and how they take in information. So the planet is going to express itself when someone is communicating with someone else and they are trying to get their point across or gather information from one of their peers. This is the planet that is going to showcase itself in their communication style. So how someone verbally communicates, how someone learns, and how someone takes in, gathers, and sorts out different ideas. House number 4. Leave me alone. Planets in the fourth house, though this is a cardinal point on the natal chart, also known as the Imam Coli. Don't know how to pronounce it, but who cares? That's how I roll here. Planets in the fourth house with the IC, especially if they are in conjunction the IC, are going to express themselves in a way that is taking and gathering their energy inward. This is where the individual is going to feel emotionally safe and secure, and they are likely going to guard the energy of whatever planet is posited in this house, no matter if it's an exuberant planet or if it's a planet that is more veiled in secrecy. So the moon natally governs the fourth house, and it's very secretive, it's emotional, and it's hidden. So any planets here are likely to not be noticed by others. They might not even be noticed by the native, aside from when they're alone or at one with themselves. So this is when someone is truly in their emotional comfort zone, that is when the planet is going to express themselves. So planets in the 4th house might not be noticeable to others unless they are very, very emotionally close to the native. So these planets are likely to be somewhat a little bit hidden and only come out when the native is very comfortable around you. Planets in the 5th house. I'm just here to party. So, planets in the 5th house are going to express themselves in a very casual way, almost a flirtatious and childlike expression. Now, the 5th house is naturally governed by the sun, and the sun is exuberant and it does want to attract attention and attract an audience, but any planet that is posited here, whether they are attempting to attract someone or not, this is likely going to be how others are finding that native attractive. So, whatever planet is in the 5th house, this is going to be their sort of like their suave communication style. This is going to be how they have fun and how they express themselves with almost a childlike enthusiasm. So when someone is out socializing, this is the energy of the planet of the 5th house. This is basically it. If we want to just get right down to it, this is how someone gets down and parties. Planets in the 6th house. How may I help you? Planets in the 6th house are going to express themselves in a way where it's taking in information from others to help them grow and build and better themselves. So this is also a way of how the native is going to want to better themselves. So this is going to be the way that they interact with their own health and how they are serving others in a way that can healthfully bring greater abundance to them. So with the 6th house, any planets that are going to be here are going to express themselves in the form of, this is how the native might work out. This is the type of diet, mental, emotional, physical, and literal diet are going to be taken into account. This is how someone is going to be of service to others. In, let's say someone asks you for advice, any planet that is posited in the 6th house is going to come out in some sort of way in that context when the native is giving advice or when the native is trying to better their own physical realm experience, how the native is also trying to help better others. These are the ways that the planet is going to express itself when the native is dealing with someone else, an aspect of advice, or how they're intaking all of their emotional health, their physical health, their spiritual health. This is going to be how someone works to achieve better and improve for themselves, and also the way someone is winding down and relaxing, what kind of gets them in that chill, low-key vibe. Planets in the 7th house. From me to we. So planets in the 7th house, the house of love and relationships and partnerships and of marriage. This is how the planets are going to express themselves when dealing with others. So any planet that is posited in the native's 7th house, this is going to be how they are behaving in their relationships and how they are dealing in their intimate moments with other people. So this might not necessarily be expressed in terms of friendships when they are interested in someone, when they are intimate with someone, when they're in a relationship with someone. Any planets that are in the 7th house are going to come out in that way with how the self recognizes and deals with the other. So you might notice that the 7th house is another cardinal house, which I spoke of. This is the opposite axis to the 1st house, which is me, self-expression. This is going to be expression of how the native is dealing with other people. House number 8. What is the meaning of this? So the 8th house, the famed 8th house of death, sex, occult topic, taboo topics, and all of that good stuff. This is where the native is going to want to dive deeper into their own expression of their own emotional depth and feelings. So planets in the 8th house, very much like planets in the 4th house, which is a fellow water house, are likely to not be expressed here, maybe not to anyone aside from the native. This is where their secrets are. This is their secret fantasies, their secret turn-ons. This is kind of like the the driving force of all of their banal primal instincts. So the native is likely to do a lot of soul searching in matters regarding their 8th house and any planets there within. So the planet that is posited in someone's 8th house is going to be the way that they dive deeper into their emotional psyche and how they better understand themselves, and also the psychology of understanding others that they are in close, intimate relationships with. Planets in the 9th house. What is this teaching me? So, as we said, the 8th house is for self-exploration on the inside. The 9th house, any planets there are going to be utilized best for self-exploration outside. This is how someone teaches others. This is how someone communicates their prime spiritual beliefs to others. Their code of ethics, their morals, their belief systems, things that make them tick, things they are passionate about, things that they are inspired by. Planets here are going to want to share the knowledge, and I mean philosophical knowledge, I don't mean book smart knowledge. This is how someone is going to want to express their entire spiritual code to a grand scale. So any planet that is in the 9th house is going to take in information from their vast surroundings and compute it into a philosophical way in which the native can better understand themselves whilst at the same time understanding their outer sphere. So this is how the native projects their beliefs outward, and also how the native takes in the belief systems of the collective and tunes inward and studies it and analyzes how the macrocosm and the microcosm fit together. Planets in house number 10. This is what I'm known for. So here we have the 10th house. Now this is the opposite axis cardinal house to the Imam Coli, the 4th house. So as planets in the 4th house are going to want to shrink back and sort of shirk recognition, the 10th house is going to want to project any type of planets here. So planets that are posited in the 10th house are going to express themselves on a grand scale. This is how you are likely to notice someone from afar. So let's say, for example, someone that you don't know personally but you've just heard of, you likely are seeing traits of their 10th house and any planets there within, because this is how someone comes off to the collectives. This is also the house of career, so planets in the 10th house are likely to govern what type of career is going to be interesting and beneficial to the native, as well as showing them where their success in their career as a whole will be, or what their public reputation will be. So the 10th house, any planets here are going to be easily recognized by others because they are going to be the most noticeable aspects and attributes about the native from a distance. Planets in the 11th house. Hey man, we're in this together. So planets in the 11th house, the house of hopes, wishes, dreams fulfilled, and friendships and dealing with others. So planets in the 11th house are going to be your friendship style. These planets are also going to show you how your dreams will come true, what your hopes are to achieve in this physical lifetime, and it's also going to show you sort of like your lucky streak and how you're magnetic to others. So this is going to be what basically attracts others to you, because it's sort of like your little spark of light, your little inspiration, because no matter what, planets in the 11th house are likely to be viewed by the native as beneficial to them and helpful to them. And the traits of planets that are expressed in the 7th house are going to come off as how one succeeds in life and how their dreams come forth into reality. So this is really a house of manifestation, and that's not commonly talked about in astrology, but it's just something that I personally noticed. So if you want to know about the houses of how each house is going to help you manifest, I would definitely look at the 11th house, how you can help your manifestation techniques, because this is taking something that seems like it's far away and drawing it closer towards you. So planets here are likely to express themselves when someone, let's say, wishes upon a star, and then that's sort of like their technique to achieve their greatest accomplishments that are going to seem like wishes fulfilled, in comparison to how someone works physically to achieve their goals. Like the 10th house, this is how someone works spiritually to achieve their goals, the 11th house. planets in house number 12. Am I missing something? So, here we have the fabled 12th house. Now, this is also a water house. So, like the 4th house and the 8th house, the 12th house is sort of secretive in its mannerism, in the way in which the native themselves might not even be aware of the planet's power if there are any planets posited in their 12th house, because this is known stereotypically as a house of hidden enemies. So what I find about the 12th house is that this is a house where the traits of that planet might be something that you need to incorporate and express more into your own personality, because they're so hidden from you. They're beneath the surface. They're not something that you are aware of and you only let out when you're comfortable. And they're not something that you want to psychically delve into and to understand better. This is something that might whoosh, boom, come out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa, you can't even identify really with traits of the planets that are in your 12th house. Now, also, planets in the 12th house are going to be somewhat of a shadow self. They're going to represent somewhat of one's shadow side, the side that is hidden from them. Now remember, the shadow is not negative. The shadow is just something that's not being brought out into the light. So it's sort of gathering dust there in the back of the closet, and it might be a piece of gold that you did not realize was there because you just couldn't see it. And then when you finally open the door all the way and you poke around in there with a flashlight, then you're like, oh shit, I did not know that I had that going on. And then you take your golden nugget and express it to the world, and planets in your 12th house will be your greatest gift once they are acknowledged and incorporated into the personality. So if I were to say, looking at the entire natal chart, where you really want to deep dive is in the realm of the 12th house and any planets there, because odds are once you bring those aspects out into the light, they are going to serve you very, very well in your physical domain experience. And that's what I got for you today, guys, with the 12th houses and how planets express themselves. We went through a very, very quick walkthrough around the zodiacal wheel. Thank you for joining me today. I am Oculus, the alien next door, and we will chit chat again soon.